Think of your product management career as a complex, ever-expanding puzzle. Each skill, each experience, each insight is another piece that brings you closer to the bigger picture and success. And today, we're adding some crucial pieces to your career puzzle. And welcome to Product Team Success, brought to you by our friends at Amplitude. I'm Ross Webb, and we're about to uncover some game-changing puzzle pieces from 4 product management experts who have gone far in solving their own career puzzles. And coming up in this episode, in our puzzle building session today, you'll learn about strategic pieces that could reframe your entire product management approach, and the networking piece that could connect you to unseen opportunities, and stakeholder management techniques that fit perfectly into challenging scenarios, and then hidden strategies to complete your product leadership puzzle. And stay with us, because these puzzle pieces could be exactly what you need right now to see your product management career with fresh eyes. Mihai, we're starting with you, and you've navigated the complex world of product management at the Estee Lauder companies. What career-defining moves do you wish you'd known about earlier? And how can our listeners use these insights to maybe leapfrog their career and maybe their competition?
Because I have a background in engineering, I will actually start with the fundamentals. If you are a growing product management, you need to be exposed in the many aspects of this domain, let's say. So it would be great if you could have an experience with a consumer product. If you started from the inception, from the very beginning, where you just take a launched product and you go up to the scaling phase, that's another conversation. But you need to have an experience with a consumer product. The dynamics are strong actually in the consumer market rather than the business one. You have a lot of changes over the night. You can't say that you can control the customer. You have a lot of diversity. So I think it's really good for your experience to have such exposure. The other one thing to get to the next level is actually to get through a B2B experience. So working on a platform, working on a product that is addressing a corporate customer, you'll see that the dynamic is totally different. You can get to a situation where you have, 2, 3, 4 top customers that are actually dictating half of your roadmap, which can be rather dangerous if you don't manage it properly. And the trick in here is to actually understand how, by starting from something that looks like a captive environment, so a large customer that is dictating the roadmap, to get something from there and make it more of a general feature that could also address a second segment of customers. So that's the trick. If you know how to do that, you are already a wiser product manager. The third aspect, if you relate to the B2B, is actually how you can keep your growth in such conditions, because not all corporate customers are equal, and some have a different speed of change. So they support a different speed of changing things in their organization. But you need to grow your product, and you need to keep close with analysts. Take Gartner, take Forrester, take IDC. In the B2B, it's critical to get in contact with those analysts and actually become, if you want, a top performer in building relationships, even more than in the consumer space. So it's good to have experience. Now, you have the consumer on the side, and you have the B2B experience on the side. What else is actually missing to be able to say that you really master how to build a strong product is the white labeling part. Because that comes with another one trick. It's how do you make something that can be used by a third party without, exposing the entire core knowledge, intelligence, algorithms of your product. You don't want to do that. How do you make sure that you can do something that is, let's say, in terms of infrastructure, multi-tenant, multi-services, and so on? You have to develop that, and that's another one good experience. It comes with challenges in correctly implementing services that monitor the usage. So you need to meter everything, and that's really important. With issues in terms of how do you manage properly security and isolate the usage of one company to another one company that is using your core product, right? So it's a strong experience. So that's related to building. Now, if I look outside of building that, I think it's important not to just stay close with the engineering. It's also important to stay close with the marketing teams. So how do you build on that one? In the beginning, you just give information, probably as a junior product manager, give information to the marketing teams. This is what the product does. This is a leaflet. This is that. This is a certain information. You are going to build a campaign. You need to move up from that level, elevator game, and actually get involved in the go-to-market campaigns, go into the media tours, in the press releases, be there, evangelize for your product. It's not easy to talk in front of, 100, 200 people, 500, maybe 1,000, but you need to learn to do that. It's for the sake of your product. So it's not for you. It's for the sake of your product and for the team that you're actually representing, proudly represented for doing something great. The third one thing is, and it's something that I've actually learned in the hard way. You can be awesome in building a strong product. You can be awesome in understanding the market and figure out its corner cases, the sweet spots that nobody looked at them. But you can't stay behind the scenes. So you need to get out and socialize. Try to get to product management events, festivals, anything that could put you in a spotlight to share something valuable and also to learn something valuable from the community. If you want a healthy organization, if you want a healthy environment, if for you at home you want better products to use, you need to be there. So it's everybody's involvement that actually makes the world better. And that's a strong belief of myself.
Ayla, you've taken a unique path through various industries in your product career. How have you turned this diverse set of experiences into your secret sauce for success? And more importantly, how can our listeners leverage unexpected experiences to stand out in the competitive world of product management, while also staying true to their core principles?
So yeah, I've been in product kind of since then. I love it. I've been in there, but I've been in very different businesses and I've jumped around different kind of sectors and industries as well. And I do actually, when I speak to younger product managers, I mentor a couple of them, and sometimes people come to me on LinkedIn and they ask questions because I have like a quite colorful, work experience. I think it is important to be kind of attentive to where you are working and why. So like, what are the, different aspects of your role or your business that you're working for doing for your overall kind of career trajectory? And like, how do you need to adapt, your product management toolkit, quote unquote, to actually succeed in that role? And I guess success can be defined in different ways, right? Success is business success, so bringing business outcomes and results, but also it's about you personally learning and growing. It could be that you perform badly in a role, and maybe there are different factors that stop you from getting those product metrics and hitting that kind of business target. But actually, you learn a lot. Maybe you stay there for a year or two, and you learn a lot. That's still a success for me. And when you look back, you will see that is a success. So I do think that that's super important. And so I do encourage people to try to round out their experience a little bit, like be attentive to that company's size, where the product is currently at in its life cycle. Is it B2B? Is it B2C? Are you growing your market share within an established category, or are you trying to create a category, like, so-called category hacking, when actually having a competitor, like your competitors then can help you. So having that kind of awareness and picking those opportunities, if you're lucky enough to be able to do so, I think is really important. And I think if you're a product leader and you're hiring, it's really super important to bear all this in mind as well, like people's kind of how rounded they are and how much they fit you. I think that a lot of the time people are pulled into sort of these particular, not niches, but like streams. Like you're a B2B product manager, you're a SaaS product manager, you're a B2C, or you've done subscriptions, or you've got marketplace experience, so you're a marketplace PM. And, I think that there is danger in really pigeonholing yourself into a specific type of product management. And I think it's really valuable, especially early in your career, to try to round out your experience. For example, I have quite a lot of experience with products with a subscription-based business model. I'm working for a business right now that's a subscription model. Welltech does health and business apps in lots of different types of health and fitness apps, and they're all on a subscription model. When I'm hiring, unless it's specifically a growth product manager role or something where they're going to look after specifically pricing, business model, I'm not that keen. That they don't really care that much if they've got subscription experience. Because if I look back at all the products that I worked on that are subscription based, they're so different. I couldn't have approached them with the same toolkit of frameworks or methodologies, same sets of assumptions, even though they are all either monthly or annual subscriptions. You know, it could be that one product is B2B or B2B2C, one is B2C, you know, one is solving a problem for fewer people, but is charging a really high annual sum. The other one has a much bigger market, but can only charge a much lower monthly price. You know, maybe one company excels in acquisition, but is really bad at retention and mediocre at monetization, whilst maybe the other one is has an 80% renewal rate, but struggles to grow and acquire subscribers. You know, one has a predictable revenue profile that's very stable in the long term. The other one's volatile, really exposed to external factors. Maybe there are cultural considerations at play, in terms of the international audience or the employees and everything. So I've worked on I've had all of these scenarios, and I think that approaching them is completely different approaches necessary for all of those. So on the app side, you're working on a subscription product, great. You know, you've done this before, you know it all, but actually all of these factors come into play. And when you're choosing a new role or trying to design your kind of career or fill gaps in your experience, trying to sink your teeth into a new company or a role, like you said, you need to consider that variation in factors and kind of act accordingly. I do think there is something to be said still, though, for staying true to your principle. Everyone should have some principles on how they do product, right? If you don't, then you're a little bit lost, and you have to have a new identity with every role or company that you kind of work for. And your methodologies and your processes, they will change, but your principles should stick around. And I think that's also why I think it's important to hire for traits and the way people think, and not just for particular experience set or knowledge of this or that framework, which you can easily teach them, you know. So I think it is about being flexible with your methodologies and understanding the business context, but also really sticking to your principles.
In my years leading product teams, I've learned that unconventional wisdom often leads to the biggest breakthroughs. Now, Chadi, what's one piece of counterintuitive advice you found that could be a game changer for our listeners' careers?
I think that one of the things I discovered a bit later in my career that was really it's not life-changing, let's say career-changing for me, was the importance of good benchmarking. I cannot repeat this enough, but the fastest way to do things is to copy people who did it before you. So I call this often the art of benchmarking, because I think we do this a lot in business schools. I think designers are really good at benchmarking, but product managers, at least the ones I've talked to, sometimes have a tendency to forget how important that is. And this mainly happens because that's my opinion, okay? But either we can have the bias of, I'm building something better than everyone else. I've talked to my users, I know what they want. And this thing that I'm doing that better or I'm more innovative, kind of sometimes can make us sometimes blind or forget that any real problem in this world, other people tried to solve it before, or at least in some way. And either checking the product they build or actually talking to the real people can make you really boost your productivity. And I think that whenever we are working on a new task, we should ask ourselves who tried to solve this problem or part of this problem before. And even not necessarily in the same industry. So at some point we had an issue with our mobile app. So we wanted people to be able to look up words very quickly when watching movies. And we were thinking about reachability and moving the search bar to the bottom of the screen and using your phone with one hand. and kind of this feeling of collecting the words you see in a movie. So one benchmark that we thought of was Shazam, which is kind of very far from what we do. But they spend their time thinking about the fastest way to catch a music you hear at some point. So they have a lot of thinking, like a lot of people that gave a lot of time to think about this feeling of snappy app that will catch what you want right now. So I think this is really important. Like this made me be able to deliver much faster and gain the trust of my management. And it was a really good tool for me. So I would say, yeah, the advice is don't just look at the direct competition. Try to think of other people who try to solve similar problems, either in your network or products you know.
I've had to master the art of building connections, often in challenging circumstances. Chadi, for those who find, say, traditional networking daunting, what's your secret to creating a powerful network without, let's say, the awkwardness? And how can our listeners turn this challenge into an advantage?
I think like if inside our company we are curious enough, I think first we need to really go physically to events, kind of like see a circle where people are talking and just go and stand in the circle, try to listen as much as possible. Maybe join the Slack channel of the same community. And the next time we have a question, try to I think at some point now I have kids and I've always asked myself, how can I say thank you to my parents for everything they did for me, And at some point I found out that the answer was to do the same for my kids, because I will never be able to thank them enough. So I think it's kind of the same in the career. The person who helped me do my first CV, I've never been able to help this person, but I've helped the next person who asked me to do his CV. So I think if I'm a junior person, I might feel that the more senior people don't have a reason to help me because I've never did help them, but someone helped them before me. And there's this kind of, anyone who works in product knows the importance of the network. And basically, I think my advice for junior people is to trust that the more senior people will answer their questions if they send them a personal message on Slack, because someone before has answered them. And I think there's this kind of natural we know in product management that we cannot do it without others. And so we have a tendency to be open and share. And I think we should just dare to ask the question and we will get answers.
I've seen both success and setbacks in my product management journey. Mihai, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice that would have, let's say, fast-tracked your success, what would it be? How can our listeners apply this wisdom to supercharge their own careers?
Strategies to enter and succeed in product management roles. And I want to focus on how to enter in the product management role, because the domain is not... So here's the thing, and we know it very well. It's not the most standardized domain, actually. So we're not by default process people. We're actually customer people. We're value people. So we're not we have this recipe and no matter where we're going to work, this is how the product management organization will work. We know that. There are no two organizations running in the same way. Yes, there are principles that are implemented more or less across most of the companies, but there aren't two organizations in the same way. And it's still a new domain, the product management domain. So how can you enter into that domain? And I know folks are thinking, okay, so that should be my next move in career. How do I get that? I want to help a few people. And I'm going to say that. And I have two stories that I love. So one is related to photography. You take a famous photographer and you ask them to make now you have 10 minutes to make a photo to this baby. He's going to get out a wonderful photograph, but the mother will not be happy. You give a simple camera to the mother, and the mother will make a photo of that baby, and everybody will love the photo of that baby. And the thing is, and you already know the answer, what I want to say, is how the hell that happened? Isn't that a famous photographer? Yes, that's an awesome person in photography, but is not an awesome person in relationship to the knowledge of the subject. But the mother is the one that knows the most about that baby. And because of that, it doesn't matter how sophisticated the technology is going to represent the most beautiful essence of that baby. So the mother knows the baby that well, and that's the similarity with the product manager. So we want to get to the essence of that problem. We understand exactly why you have that problem. How is that making your life difficult? How solving that is simplifying your life, and what are the benefits for you from solving that problem? Which means it's very critical if you want to get in a product manager role to understand the customer, to know them. So while looking to a different company, so try changing the companies, why not looking in the company you are already in? So you are in a company and you are a senior member of the customer support team. You were always curious about the mechanics of the product. Probably you're a good fit to start considering moving to a product management career. You have something very important. You know, the customer, the voice. You have the guts to talk to the customer. You have the habits to talk to the customer. And if you also like to look and find out about the mechanics of the product, that's a good start. So feel confident, go there. That's one track. Another one track. You like the product, you know the technology, and you are an awesome QA tester that is never happy with the results, can never settle with the fact that something wasn't launched or something was maybe cut out of the scope or wasn't implemented completely. And what comes into your mind is, I don't think those people that we're working for and will build the product are the happiest like that. I would really love for them to have that feature completely developed. Okay, you have the right mindset. You can become a product manager. So feel confident in applying for the role and start learning about the specifics of product management. Now, another one thing. You are a marketer or you are a competitive analyst. So when you think about the product the company is developed, or one of the products, you know the competitors, you know the differentiators, but you also know the teams that are on the floor and are working on the product. And you have a good relationship with them. It's not like, I need to give them a report, I'm going to give them a report and that's it. And you ask them, so what are you going to do? You're going to develop a feature like that. I don't know, multi-factor authentication. Let me look on the competitors because I want to do that. I'm curious how they do that or things like that. Again, you want to do a change to product management, go do it. So you have what it takes to start considering that. Feel confident, just do it.
Now, stakeholder management, I feel, has really made my career in product. Justine, I'm curious about your approach. What's your strategy for turning even the most difficult stakeholders into allies? And how have you seen this skill catalyze your career growth?
Well, look, I think I'm similar to you in that I have seen a multitude of stakeholders and not naming names, and it wasn't my previous employer. So just to caveat that, but, you know, I mean, I've had stuff thrown at me if you go back far enough, you know, and thrown out of office spaces. Hasten to add, not for something that I did, but, you know, up there with some really, really difficult people. And similarly, also had some really great ones. But I think what I felt like it would be really valuable today to talk about those difficult ones and the different ways in which I have tried to deal with them in the past and where I've had success, but also where I've had total failure. Because, hey, if you fail at something, that's a great way to learn not to do it again. So I think the first thing that I started doing, you know, quite early on, and part of this actually comes from back in the day when I was a little marketing assistant, and I used to have to go down to the editorial floor and speak to the editor, and that was big. You know, I was in my early 20s and these guys were, you know, mammoth editors, and they had the shortest attention span in the world. Like, literally, if you weren't saying something of interest to them within the first 30 seconds, you were done. So that taught me really early on to be really, try to be really aware of who your stakeholder is and how they work as an individual? You know, are they somebody with a short attention span? Okay, if so, you know, prepare yourself for that. Go in quick, try and get the information that you're trying to get across to them in as succinct a way as possible. The flip side is that often you can have that coupled with somebody who, yes, fine, they want it delivered really short and sharp and to the point, but then they might also have 20 questions to things that you might not even think is totally relevant to your conversation. So the first thing is always try and go in really well prepared with, you know, what you're talking about. And within that, you know, there might be something that you don't know off the top of your head. You don't have it written in front of you. If you don't know, don't try and fake it. I have been known to wing it a couple of times, and it doesn't, you know, you might get away with it once, you might get away with it twice. If you go in there, and especially if somebody's, you know, normally the difficult stakeholders, if I'm being stereotypical here, they can be more senior, higher up the food chain. They, you know, you're coming to them for budget, for investment, or to update them on a big project that they are invested in. And if you don't know the answer to something, say, I don't know, but I will come back and I will tell you and update you and follow through on that. Don't take a few days. Don't, you know, or if you can't get hold of that information straight away, tell them that and say that it's being worked on. Some of the biggest blow-ups that I have seen is actually not because somebody's not doing a good job. It's because that they just aren't talking, if you like, the same language that the stakeholder is talking. So it's a mix of, you need to make sure that you've got the relevant information in front of you, and then that it's being delivered in a way that they can understand. And I think, look, that's a bit of a focus on my experience of some senior stakeholders, where it's you're sort of reporting or updating on things. I think the other element that is absolutely key with your stakeholders, and I always talk about this, my friends will kill me for bringing this up now, but it's a favorite saying of mine of like, I'm like, communication is key. That seems pretty obvious, right? But everybody speaks a different language. You'll be in the same business, you'll be working on the same thing. If you have somebody from marketing talking or somebody from editorial talking, they will have different lingo, different terminology to what you as a product team use or what your developers use. And my favorite example of this is in editorial language, a spike is you are killing it. You're getting rid of something. It's dead. It's done. Spike in product, in other world, other language, well, that's, we're going to go off and investigate that. I have been in a room where there was a massive misunderstanding because they used the word spike. And somebody from editorial, one of their key stakeholders, thought that they were killing this thing that they'd been behind and were really supportive of. And it was carnage. Until about 20 minutes later, when everybody was like, oh, calm down. Or no, a spike actually means this. So it sounds really basic, but actually that, that's so important to make sure that you're, you don't want to sort of patronize somebody and simplify it too much, but just be aware, because you can end up in some really crappy situations when there's that basic misunderstanding.
And there you have it. Product leaders, we've just added some powerful pieces to your career puzzle. Remember, the picture is always evolving, and that's the beauty of our field. I've learned throughout my career that success in product management isn't about reaching a final destination, but it's about continually expanding our toolkit and our perspective. The insights we've gained today from Mihai, Ayla, Chadi, and Justine, I think, are perfect examples of how we can keep growing and keep adapting. Don't forget to connect with our fantastic guests on LinkedIn. Their ongoing insights could be the next crucial piece that you need for your puzzle. And if you're hungry for more, don't miss our interview with Malte Scholz, where he dives deep into road mapping and managing dependencies, two often overlooked pieces that could complete a critical piece for your product leadership puzzle. And this episode was brought to you in partnership with our friends at Amplitude. And until next time, keep adding to your puzzle, and watch as your product management career takes an ever more impressive shape. This is Ross Webb signing off. Until next time, bye for now.